Going live right now to review New Japan Windy City Riot. And mostly talk about the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. See you there. Ace! Go! Ace! Go! Ace! Go Ace, everybody. It's me, Uturu Sinza, Josh Custodio, coming to you for one of these rare Friday night streams. For one, a very rare Friday night stream here. Thank you, Matty Matt. Go Ace. To you. Love and energy to you and everybody. Pace, same to you. You have to go live after that show, right? Sound a bit jacked up. Thanks for letting me know. 1 sec. 2 seconds here. See, this is how it goes without a producer. 1 sec. Okay, how's that? Is that better? Checking in. Hello. Is that better? Hopefully it's better. We'll see what the chat says. Oh my god, what a show. Better says Pace. Thank you. Oh, I'm exhausted. There's so many different ways a wrestling match can be good. Like, tonight there's really 2 strong examples of this show. You can go Gabe Kidd versus Tomohiro Ishii, which is just a blood and guts, largely striking only, doesn't resemble quote-unquote Western pro wrestling tropes all that much. But the main event tonight is something that you have to have, like, an unbelievable pro wrestling career to pull off. Because if you wanted to examine this match in a vacuum, there's, like, not that much to talk about, right? I'm talking, of course, about Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Konosuke Takeshita. I said the main event, but maybe people thought the world title match main evented tonight. It did not. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Konosuke Takeshita, fittingly, I might add, main evented. But we'll talk about everything tonight. Huge credit to Hiroki Goto. But you can only do what Tanahashi, and with Takeshita was a great dance partner as a heel tonight, but what Tanahashi did tonight with a great pro wrestling career, because you have to accept and embrace and enjoy that the high-five flow isn't going to look like it used to, that the twist and shout is going to look much heavier and slower than it once did, that his sling blade is probably the worst one he's ever thrown. And you just have to be able to realize that that's why this match is good. And that would sound stupid a lot of the time. But when you look at this match, man, did everybody feel this way? But that was my easy match of the night. And I thought that Gabe Kidd and Ishii earlier in the show put on a corker. But I don't think you can touch that main event, can you? That was emotional for me. When I talk about on Double Dudes, about wanting emotion in my pro wrestling, that main event is it. I saw people in the Wrestling Brain Discord saying that they were tearing up over this one. And I didn't for this, but it made sense to me. I was super emotionally gripped. Every 2.9, every ace kick out, just a rooting interest that it would be impossible to manufacture. I thought from go, first of all, they structured this match in such a smart way. The Shogako crowd kicks them off with this huge thank you Ace chant that goes into a Tanahashi match. They're obviously there to appreciate the guy. But it's largely Takeshita offense, with moments of Tanahashi being able to come up for air. But it's a lot of slow down offense. Takeshita's interesting here because people like him, but here he's able to get boos, but do sort of the physical heavy lifting that the match requires. So huge credit to him for that. But it's a lot of, so like, Tanahashi getting whipped into the corner, then Takeshita follows him, elbow up, Tanahashi barely gets out, or Takeshita sends Tanahashi into the ropes, he follows him to the ropes, Tanahashi ducks it. Like, there's lots of spots like that in the beginning of the match. But then a one kick out by the Ace really gets this kicked into high gear, and in a way that you can't, I don't know how, you could never teach what the Ace is able to do, and that's been true since day one of his career, but especially true, you couldn't give this advice to somebody showing up to wrestling school, because he just gets it. Tanahashi pulls out a straight jacket German suplex, which I assume is a shout out to Kenta Miyahara, only because I want it to be. But he gets more aggressive. He digs deeper into the moveset. He hits some very heavy looking high fly flows. Really cool.
Come on!
My brother Scoots Pro to subscribing with Prime, which you should do too, by the way. Show him it's worth showing up on a Friday night. And he's saying the one thing there's only to say tonight.
Go Ace.
Which is, of course, Go Ace. Thank you, Scoots, man. And when Tanahashi does come alive on offense in this match, and he's always been able to just, summon the crowd with his hand very, very easy. But Tanahashi was just, even by his standards, able to get me in on his comeback in this match. From there, oh yeah, he goes into this whole suplex sequence. He hits the straight jacket German, like I mentioned, and then into a dragon suplex. Takeshita gets so much heat on him during these kickouts. Like, people want him to stay down, which is hilarious. You usually feel the will of the kickout for the babyface, but you could feel the crowd being like, oh, he'll stay down on this non-finisher. Awesome feeling. The roll-up from Tanahashi out of Raging Fire is probably the biggest hope spot of the match, which is hilarious. So the first roll, Raging Fire, doesn't hit, but then you're into the tail end of the match. 4 huge guillotine knees out of the corner from Takeshita, where he looks emotional. He's like crying on his face. He has like a Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, I'm sorry, I love you moment. And he cues up the 5th knee. Boom! And I thought this was the finish for sure. Oh, shoulder up on 2.9. Tanahashi comes up. I come alive like crazy. This sets up a 5th knee, or sorry, not a 5th knee. This is a bit of a comeback for Tanahashi. Not much, but ultimately a Raging Fire from Takeshita for a 1, 2, 3. They don't do like a respect angle after the match, but it's the closest thing you're going to get, where Takeshita's just emoting so hard as he can as a heel and just sort of be like, okay, that was difficult. Rolls out of the ring, lets Tanahashi soak in his rightful moment, as his last match on North American soil is a loss, but he really gets the lingering moment. It's Tanahashi chance. He cuts a promo. It's Go Ace chance. I don't know. I just thought this was so nice. I feel like emotionally spent. It was so nice. I love getting wrapped up in wrestling like this. It's not all the time. And as much, see, it's hard because you go to make a comparison here and it feels like no matter what, you're shitting on something you like otherwise, but I can't really think of another way to do it. But I like Will Ospreay matches. But it's not until he hits the end of his career or adds some stakes or we appreciate him in a different light that he could achieve something like Tanahashi did tonight by ultimately doing, quote unquote, so much less. And Tanahashi was the guy who never left. Shibata goes, Nakamura goes, Tanahashi stays, man. I'm loving this retirement tour. It's so funny, like, Mania's next week, and I just don't care about John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And even a couple years ago, if you told me the John Cena retirement tour was happening, like is this his last Mania match? Or second last? At longest, his second last Mania match ever. And I just don't feel like super drawn to it, where it's like Tanahashi, every kick out, every bit of offense is going to mean so much to me this year. So, huge main event for me. I love this so much. Tanahashi has always been ultra compelling, but here against Takeshita, this I can't say this is like one of my favorite matches of his, but in some ways one of my favorite performances. It'll be one of the matches I remember. I'm jealous of those who were in the building tonight. I bet you felt something special in there. Anyway, it's time to do what it is we do best around here. I want to get your 1 to 7 scores on the whole show. I know we don't have a lot of people here tonight. I appreciate anybody who did show out. I'm going to sing the 1 to 7 song because I didn't bother to download the song. That was smart of me. So here we go. On a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being the worst and 7 being the best. What did you, the Brainiacs in the chat, and then me with Rusinza, Josh Custodia, rate tonight's edition of New Japan Windy City Riot? You did spend money on it, unless you were in the Wrestling Brain Discord. You did spend time. Me, please. Oh, this is perfect. Thank you, Scoots. This is the 1 to 7 song tonight. Morning nice and clean for me. I don't want any spilling. Much like your rain, true. 1 to 7. You are my favorite judge. You are my favorite jug. Thank you, Scoots. That works very well as the 1 to 7 song tonight. Scoots Brodo kicks us off with the full 7. The Headhunter with a 6.5. Manny Mac with a 6.4. Corrects to a 7. Corrects 1266 with a 7. Fruits are edible. Cut the last 2 matches only. Solid 7. Yeah, that's a good. I did a good version of tuning into this too, which is to say I missed some of the maybe less important stuff on this card. Look at me live editing. Get more comfortable in this gimmick. You know, who needs these producers? That's what I'm always saying. All right. I say as I totally fuck up moving me around here. Anyway, and was anybody's match of the night? I think I saw somebody up there, Gabe Kidd and Ishii 2 was your match of the night. Any other match of the nights? For me, it was the main for sure. Definitely the main. But let's move down the card, talk about a little bit of what else was going on here. I don't want to keep everybody super late. The Shooter, Shota Umino, takes on Hiroki Goto for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. This Goto run is so fun, man. It's like he's been such a weird left field anecdote. He teaches you something about booking, right? Where the New Japan office sort of went out on a limb, making Goto champion. There were definitely some people, the New Japan subreddit in particular, was pushing for a Goto championship title before he retires pretty heavy. But I didn't see a ton of like super serious, oh, no matter what, we have to see a title run for Hiroki Goto before he retires. But New Japan was cold, and we were all sort of searching for who's going to be their Stan Hansen, their Jumbo Tsuruta, their Tenryu. Just these guys that they're going to have to break through this next crop. And Hiroki Goto is the man on top. And it's wicked. He's as obvious and easy a babyface as maybe they've ever had. Sorry, book fell down. I find myself all the time calling for like Mark Briscoe focus on AEW Dynamite, and I feel like Goto is a good example of what that can be. If you just pull the trigger on somebody who has an immense amount of existing fan goodwill, you get an enormous amount out of that, and it's so obvious and easy. Because tonight I was having this idea that I was like, man, Shooter is looking better. He's pretty over as a heel here. And, you know, this is not the performance to judge Shooter off of, because Goto is a really good babyface. And this crowd knew that IWGP, the G stood for Goto, as did I. I complained a little bit in the Discord after well, not complained, but just said that the Cigar Genesis main event between David Finlay and Goto was one of my least favorite Goto matches in a little while, and not for any huge reason. I just didn't super get into it, but I really didn't like the finish where he just hits 4 GTRs. I hope he keeps what he did tonight. Boom! Mash you with a bunch of headbutts, and then hit one really meaningful GTR. I don't, like, if you knock a guy unconscious, it's really hard to bring him to his feet, and I know that's, you could apply that to so many things in wrestling, and I'd look like a hypocrite. But for the GTR, for some reason, it just doesn't work for me. Like, you do all this thing to set him up, you wail him down, he goes out, you drag him back up. I don't know. I like this a lot better. Like, you soften them up a huge amount, they're basically dead, and then you bring the hammer down, and you pick up the pin. Headhunter asking, is it regular heat or go-away heat for the Shooter? You know, it's always interesting talking about this stuff with Japanese wrestling, because I don't want to pretend I know, right? I have an idea of what the people I follow on Blue Sky think, and what the people in the Wrestling Brain Discord, and like I mentioned before, the couple places online for New Japan. But for me, it plays as something closer to regular heat. I think that it's interesting because I was about to say I think respect is growing for him, but that doesn't necessarily make heat grow. In fact, it can do the exact opposite sometimes. To me, he played like a very effective heel tonight against Goto. And in the New Japan Cup, I liked a couple of his performances too. He's adding stuff to the moveset. Bald was a striking look, but I actually think the short hair Shooter that he's rocking right now looks kind of reckless or meaner. I don't know. The promise of Shooter as John Moxley's protege feels a lot more fulfilled with this hair length and look and moveset than ever before. But I still don't have a great read on him. I will say, though, that can be interesting, right? Like, we talk about the Shooter referendum is every time he goes out there. That's real. More than basically any other wrestler I can think about. And in that way, it's sort of interesting. He feels like a project. So, I don't know. Tonight, it came across like real heat to me. But I think there definitely was a point where people, just had zero interest in him. Or at least really didn't think he stacked up next to Uemura, Tsuji, certainly the rise of Gabe Kidd late last year, early this year. It really felt like he was odd man out there, or at least more in the Ren Narita tier. But I see a lot in Ren Narita still, and I see a lot in Shooter still. In some ways, well, is that true? I was about to say in some ways Shooter feels like he has the most upside as a babyface as any of those guys, but that might not be true anymore. But you saw what they saw in him at one point. I don't know. We'll see. Tonight he was good. I like this match a great deal. Oh, you know what? I just realized, I'm looking at my notes. You know what I like from Shooter tonight? It's one of the first wrestlers who knows that you actually have to attack the ankle on ankle lock. With all due respect, I'm not here to say submission should do the painful way, but there are less painful ways of applying the actual lock. Kurt Angle, the way he twists your ankle does go that way. Shooter's, it does not. He's pulling your ankle and your upper or your lower calf and your upper heel in a direction it does not move. If you could only go along with that for so far, I guess is a good way to say it. If Shooter were to put full power into that, you would have to get out of it or it would hurt a lot. And I appreciate that. I don't think Shooter has an actual martial arts background, but if you go through the New Japan Dojo, you sort of do. But I really appreciated that. Also, what's with the STFU comeback? How many people have hit them recently? Tony has added the twisting one. Shooter does one now. Am I just thinking that John Cena's back? Maybe it's also that Cena's back. I feel like I'm seeing the STFU more lately. Does somebody in GCW do it? They must. Every move is done in GCW. Sometimes in one match. Alright. Anyway, I love the Goto title reign. I would probably be in the Uemura should dethrone him camp and not until Wrestle Kingdom. I'm trying to think because I think Dominion will be Takeshita Gabe Kidd with Gabe Kidd dethroning Takeshita. Yeah, it's hard to lay out. But I would do Uemura over Goto. Yeah, I would probably just have Goto, or rather Uemura, win the G1. Maybe against Tsuji in the final. Really put them as the A and B. Yeah. That's probably what I'd do. Matty Mac's part of the Goto Revolution. I have to say I am too, man. I was at Wrestle Kingdom 12 and him and Suzuki was not my match of the night. I think Naito Jericho probably still is. But that match blew me away in person. I cannot stress how much I liked Goto and Suzuki. I have a review of that show with the guys I went with on the Patreon too. That's the only thing I've done on Patreon. I was like, I kind of want to listen to that. Me and my buddies, souvenir of a trip to Japan. When is Takeshita versus Goto? Asked the Headhunter. Not soon enough, man. Takeshita's a great heel in New Japan, isn't he? Some guys just suit Feds better. I feel like Kenny Omega and Takeshita, both I like noticeably more in New Japan. And that's not to diss their AEW work. I, of course, think they're both two of the better people in AEW. But if you said you could only have them one spot, I would pick New Japan for both of them. Headhunter saying Forbidden Door. That's interesting. I kind of pictured Takeshita as a heel on the New Japan side against AEW at Forbidden Door. It's hard. It's an AEW crowd at Forbidden Door more so, right? I don't know if London maybe changes that dynamic though, but I had sort of pictured that being him being on Team New Japan. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm really excited for that card this year because New Japan feels way hotter than any other point. Oh yeah, that G1 match. Is that my match of that G1? Oh no. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Uemura Takeshita is my match of that G1. I forget, but yeah, you're right, Matty Mac. That match absolutely rips. There's a Shooter headbutt into Shining Wizard combination that looked really slick here. He's not. This is what makes me think he might make a better babyface. Is he isn't the most like Uemura feels like such a slick product. There is not a clunkiness to Shooter, like a human element if you wanted to be really kind about it to Shooter, like in between. He's like a little dazed. I don't want to say like a baby deer. It all sounds so insulting, but there is a little bit of that to his game, and that feels a little bit more baby-faced in me. Anyway, really enjoyed this match. Not in competition for match of the night, but continues the Goto Revolution, and me absolutely loving it. Alright, I'm just going to talk about Gabe and Ishii next, and then we'll go through the rest of the card. Whatever order I feel like, but I thought there was no way Oh, and I missed, I was driving home from work still when, not Mercedes, oh my god, the Mina Shirakawa match. Who did she wrestle, Azumi? I think it was Azumi and Mina Shirakawa. It was a double count-out finish. Oh, Scoots, great photo of the crew in the house with the Windy City Riot posted in the Discord. God damn, I can't wait to see everybody. There were lots of Brainiacs in the house tonight. Thank you, Scoots. Yeah, Azumi and a double count-out. Chat, how was that match? Is it worth me going out and seeking? I'll check. Let's talk about Kid Nishi. This is a crazy match, right? To me, this is what this match was. Two guys backstage were like, let's call it out there and do a pure crescendo. Though, worth noting, this is a 30-minute Iron Man match. So everybody's thinking multiple falls. We're going to go in and out. Not to be. They lay this out so smart. But let's go call it out there and largely stay on the feet. Because this match goes from standing slaps, I would say like borderline casual. Like, they're both kind of like, alright, tough guy, yeah, good to see you again, yeah. Then Ishii really wallops them, and this brings on, they've advanced to like stiffer slaps. Then, they go another level up. They start hitting forearms on one another. Okay, we're heating up, and still, this is what they're doing. They're literally just on the feet, not a ton of like pro wrestling trope is. When you think of like what carnival wrestling looked like at the turn of the century, this is more what it looked like than tons of okay, that is such a reach, but it is so basic in what these guys are doing. The story that they are telling is such an unbelievable escalation. S. Baker, you were at the show tonight. I am jealous. I think you got a real treat at the end. I really enjoyed the end of the show, and I thought I critiqued AEW over Dynasty for having struggle over match order. I thought New Japan nailed the match order tonight. I thought having Ace go on last is great. Anyway, I really thought they nailed the match order tonight. Did you love it, Sean Breaker? What's your score out of 7? Drive safe, though. If you can't answer, actually don't. Prioritize driving second to letting me know what your 1 to 7 score is on it. Felt like 1950s Luthez wrestling, says Headhunter. There you go. So then they get into the forearms. Then they advance to the full chops. And by this time, the crowd is so along for the ride. They've barely left the ring. It has just been this advancement of hatred between the two of them. Then the chops come. They get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. Now they're really coming. And now you finally get into some Tomohiro Ishii classic stuff. He hits the ropes. Boom! Big shoulder block. Gabe goes flying, and the Chicago crowd comes to their feet. They're totally behind the Stone Pit Bull here. I loved this crowd. They're totally along for when it was just pure brawl, and then they get the one huge spot, and they're into it. Then, Ishii shows that he's here to win. He starts biting Gabe Kidd. This is a callback to their first match where Gabe Kidd bit him. He's saying, hey, you're not going to do this first on me. They brawl to the outside, all around, into the crowd. People are hyped to get so close up to Gabe Kidd and Ishii. I would be too. Although I'm going to be. I'm at the Defy show this Sunday, so if any of you happen to be at Washington Hall, seeing Gabe Kidd versus Calvin Tankman, and LP versus... totally blanking on it, but come say hi. Anyway, they're brawling everywhere, and then they let us know that there's 10 minutes left. We're at 0 falls, 0. So at this point, they've done a great little magic trick on a guy like me who's trying to figure out the math of all this stuff at all times, right? I'm like, oh, are they just going to go to 30 minutes and then the sudden death time, it's going to be only a 1-fall match? I'm like, that's sort of clever on its own terms. And as I'm thinking that, up in the air, jump, huge sit-out powerbomb from Gabe Kidd. 1, 2, 3, with 7.5 minutes to go. The crowd realizes what has to happen here. The exhausted, now pinned Tomohiro Ishii has to sprint. He has to come alive and score 1 pin to get into the overtime. Fans of sports, we all know this spot. You have to give everything just to get to even. And Ishii is so good at this spot, dude. He just starts going off, and you get all the classic Ishii offense. You get a brainbuster, you get a superplex, eventually you get him working the arm. And this is where you get the payoff. Gabe has already been selling that he's exhausted just from all the chops, all the forearms and all the slaps. They've been only using their arms all match. His arm's been tired. He's been blocking. And then Ishii starts hunting for this armbar over and over. He's on him like a... I was about to use a jiu-jitsu slogan, but then I was like, I think that's racist that my coach says that. So let's just not say it. And he's all over this armbar and eventually gets it. And we get to the sudden death era. Now, this was so hype for me. I couldn't believe that this was the structure of the match to some degree, because they had so fooled me with the Iron Man stipulation and the 10 minutes left and the 0 falls. So it's just so along for the ride at this point. So they kick into overtime. And this is sudden death. No more. Now it's just ostensibly a singles match. Now, I'm not critiquing other wrestlers for doing this. I'm sure there's tons of good matches that have this zone and are good. But I feel like lots of wrestlers do a big fire-up couple minutes at the start of overtime and really get the people to their feet. And Gabe Kidd and Tomohiro Ishii do no such thing. They are both really selling. They are exhausted. They're staying in the heat, the tail end of this match for overtime. They run at each other out the gate for a double clothesline spot. They meet in the middle. And even just that felt like it was all that they had to give. Really, really a cool thing here. They're both leaning on the ropes. They're trying to get in one shot where they can. And ultimately, Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull, wins back the New Japan Strong title with a brainbuster and pins Gabe Kidd 1, 2, 3. Money! Come on. That's great stuff. That's two guys telling such a different story than others are able to. They have the fan buy-in to their characters that allows them the space to go out there and make it something that is a test of wills, or they can hold people's attention without having to do something every moment. They don't have to, quote-unquote, back bump to, they don't need any of that. The crowd is focused on them just throwing hands with one another for 30 minutes and then being exhausted in the overtime. It's just really impressive to see two pro wrestlers pull off. And I'm excited that Ishii's went. So with the Strong title, that means he's probably going to be spending time at the LA Dojo for a while, which means we're probably going to get him on Collision more, which means I need to bring back my Let Ishii Win on AEW campaign. Now that he's a champ, he has to, right? Poor Stone Pitbull. He might, what must be his AEW record? 2-40 or something? Let the Stone Pitbull win. Matty Mac says, I'm not really an Iron Man match guy. I know what you mean. It sort of forces, it's like the 2 out of 3 falls thing. It forces the interest to a certain part of the match, but that's where guys like you, Matty Mac, and me too, who love the details of the stuff and look over it with a magnifying glass, we sort of get rewarded, right? Like this is Arrested Development does this. Like, oh, you watched last season, so we'll give you a little joke unexplained from last season because we know you watched it. We'll reward you, the viewer. I felt like this had a little bit of that to it, which we love. Great match. Scoots saying, if it weren't for the emotional implications of Tanahashi Takeshita, Gabe and Ishii might have been my match of the night. Gabe Ishii might have been my match of the year so far. Yeah, no problem with any of that. That's like this match was so good. Did you see their first match, Scoots, man? Did people like this more than their first match? Because I remember loving their first match and it being a surprise draw to me where it actually snuck up and he was like, oh, son of a gun, give me more. I don't know if this was better or worse. I wonder what other people think about that. Which one do you like better? Maybe tonight was better? I don't know. I honestly might go watch the first one tomorrow. Tomorrow on the old walking pad. I got a walking pad last week. Now I'm always watching stuff while walking. Different ball game. Matty Mac saying this was better. Fruits are Edible also agreeing that Gabe Ishii was match of the night. Or match of the year, sorry. This was better to Matty Mac. That's a guy you can trust. All right. Up next here, Matty Mac saying, yeah. Or Scoots Brodo saying, I like this one more than the first, which was a total eye-opener surprise because of how good it was. Yeah. Totally agree. Like, if you think this one was better, I think anybody would admit that's a high bar to clear. El Phantasmo and Rocky Romero take on Titan and a shirted Naito. I don't have a ton to say about this match. I thought it was the middle of this card. I thought was good, but not blow away. I would lock this in with that. But that's the thing about having great matches. If you've got me in, you got me in. This match didn't need to be something that blew me away. This was something that people who were in the house were happy to see Naito, maybe happy to see El Phantasmo. I mean, they all knew they were going to see Rocky Romero, let's be real. All the same, though, Naito and Titan here, they were Naito's in house show mode here. If I saw some people being like, "Oh man, Naito is so washed," it's like you're just telling me you've never watched New Japan before if you think you're gonna gauge Naito's washed or non-washness off of a t-shirt on tag match. You would have thought Naito's washed in 2010 if you gauge it off of t-shirt tag matches in New Japan. There's people in my Discord who are at, I think it was a War of the Worlds Toronto show, where apparently he just put on like a world-class lazy guy match that made them hate it. But standard Tarbon Naito match. I agree with Scoots Proto. Post-match, Naito fakes a handshake on Rocky Romero and spits on him. I should also remark that there's a guy dressed as Jushin Thunder Liger who got front row tickets, and he got so much shine. I bet this guy's stoked. So many people had moments with him. Naito goes over and gives him a handshake after the match, and then he pulls out a chair and he's like, come on. He's like acting like it's actually Jushin Thunder Liger. The guy jumps the barricade, and then security's like, you can't go stand next to these wrestlers. Go sit back down. Good stuff. I don't know. Are we going to get Rocky and Naito at one of these at the What's Up Next, the Ontario, California show? Maybe that's the direction they're going here. Rocky could be a kind of a carry guy, but again, I wouldn't be expecting much out of Naito outside of Dominion, G1, and Wrestle Kingdom, obviously. Zack Sabre Jr. versus David Finlay. I thought this was not great, but I really enjoyed what these guys were getting across, where Zack Sabre Jr., while no longer the champion, is still sort of the boss hoss. He is a hard guy to get past. He is acting like he's taking David Finlay lightly for the beginning of this match. He has like a huge long control sequence just based off of wrist lock, and he's sort of like, this guy, how's he going to keep up with me? That ends up not paying off though, as he eats this massive backbreaker, where then, now that he's dazed, he takes mount on Zack Sabre Jr. I thought this was very cool. It reminded me, is it Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis, I don't know if somebody wants to look this up, but they have a quote about how everybody's a black belt until they get punched in the face. And it's like black belt, brown belt, purple belt. And so he can't grapple or shit against Zack Sabre Jr. in the beginning of this match, but after this backbreaker where he's totally zapped, he is able to take mount and get some grappling advantages on Zack Sabre Jr. I thought that was a really cool way to get them going. Then they really make that obvious. They switch into literal 50-50 guard. It's a position that's sort of in vogue in jiu-jitsu now, where both guys, I don't know how much people are interested in this, but like both guys sort of have half guards. You're still both open to strike. You can both attack, but neither of you are defending that much, and you both kind of have to sit up to do either. It's kind of lame in grappling, but I thought these two, it really served the story. Like, I don't know if they were just like, 50-50 guard. What could be a better way of showing that we are even after I've rocked you? So they get in the 50-50 guard. They exchange slaps, and then they both lean back, and they're exchanging kicks in 50-50 guard. I like this quite a bit. Boom! First Zack driver, 2 kick out, and I really thought the crowd was like, not knowing who was going to win. Like, you got the sense of like them paying attention at this point. Now he's got the backbreaker, he's got the Zack driver, they've got the 50-50 guard, they felt sort of even on the ground now, and they've come alive. It's a Tyson quote. Thank you, Paceman. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. I messed up the quote. Thank you, Pace. So now they're sort of hunting, and this is what I thought Zack Sabre Jr. still sort of felt championship. He's honed in on David Finlay. It's like, okay, man, now you're getting the real Zack Sabre Jr. They start to do these exchanges. Neither guy can really get the better of either. And then I thought, kind of out of nowhere, I'm not going to go back and rewatch it, but if I'm wrong on this, I'm wrong. But just how it read to me, I was eating dinner at the time, so maybe I made a mistake. It felt borderline out of nowhere. Like Zack Sabre Jr. was just like, end this, hits his second Zack driver, and gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. I actually thought this was excellent. Like, I don't know, if somebody asked me, oh, do I have to watch anything on New Japan last night? I'd probably obviously say the main and Gate Ishii, but I'd be tempted to recommend this match, not right alongside it, but maybe as the palate cleanser between if you were to do a triple feature or you wanted, you know, an hour of wrestling or whatever. I would really recommend this match. I thought that sometimes New Japan guys just understand that, you know, you're not getting a lot of on-screen time with promos. You're not getting a lot of angles, so to speak, outside of, you know, whatever they put out in the backstage promos. So wrestling as your character takes on a greater priority. And I thought both of these guys really wrestled as their characters tonight. And you have a sense of what David Finlay versus Zack Sabre Jr. stylistically looks like. And for a big wrestling geek like me, that's just hyper satisfying. Like, I love when guys have this understanding of who they are and they bring that to a fight. And there's another, here, I'll fuck up another quote. Minoru Suzuki has one. I can't remember if it's in direct response to him saying why he thinks the Performance Center is bad, or if people are like, this is why the Performance Center is bad. Here's what Minoru Suzuki has to say. But he likes pro wrestling where it's, what's this guy's style versus this guy's style? Like, the styles clash of two guys rather than two people working in concert with one another. And I thought that these two had a real understanding of that tonight. Really enjoyed it. I'll take this opportunity to remind anybody, if you're watching this on VOD or on YouTube, subscribe to patreon.com/J0SHC. It's the home of the best wrestling talk online. There's some people here who can, what am I trying to say? Agree with that? Back that up? The Discord's good, but more than that, the most popular day one episode I've ever put out of Solo Wrestling Brain came out on Thursday. It was Shootopia with Murder Brian Quinby of Guys fame and I watching a Kevin Steen shoot interview from 2014. Last week it was Wrestling Colin and I going over a 2001 Dr. Death Steve Williams shoot. And if you're here, please don't put it in the Discord, don't spoil it, but I'll tell you, we're doing part 2 of the Kevin Steen interview. Patrick Cosmos and I, at Important Lawyer, going through the back half of that interview. It's much more on rails. We talk about the Ring of Honor portion of Kevin Steen's career into NXT. That part of the interview is extremely enjoyable. Get into the Discord. Get this season of Shootopia. You'll like the episode after Patrick Cosmos too. Patreon.com/J0SHC. Oh, is it just the tag match, Les? Josh, you're truly the best in the biz. Yes, you are, Matty Mac. Thank you, brother. Was that it? Oh, the tag. Kevin Knight and Kushida, the Jet Setters tag. Yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about Kevin Knight taking on the World Class Wrecking Crew, and then we can get everybody off to bed. Thank you all for joining me for this little Windy City Riot post-show. Patrick is a mofo on Blue Sky, mutual follower with Scoots Brodo. Anybody who follows Scoots Brodo is good enough for me. You'll get him next night or next week on Shootopia, Scoots. But I'll just say about Wrestling Brain in general right now is, you know, like I said, it's not the busiest night here for this, but I don't take it for granted that it's a blessing. I only had Mike Noble to talk about my friend Mike, to talk about New Japan with for years. And now I have a whole little community, and I just want everybody, I think, knows, but I want everybody to know it means a lot to me. Like, I never take it for granted that I can pop on here and have smart, cool people that I get along with to chat about this stuff with and create a little hub to go. So, yeah, appreciate it. Kevin Knight, Kushida, yeah, I agree with Scoots Brodo. Kevin Knight is sick. I saw some, I think it was actually Mike who I just mentioned, my friend Mike, who said, he didn't like Kevin Knight entering the Battle of the Super Juniors because it reaffirms him as a junior, right as he's coming over to AEW, and he's wrestling Will Ospreay, and presumably he'll be wrestling, not that AEW makes that differentiation, but he'll be upper card where the people tend to be bigger by and large, as it should be. And Darby Allin's a nice exception. But that's right, S. Baker. Now I have all the Brainiacs, and it absolutely rocks. It's a blessing. And so I thought that Night Stardom from AEW lent this show. He was a great in the kickoff. Well, it was the kickoff to me because I had missed the women's match before this. He played so well here, like a star in a way. I've seen him in New Japan countless times. Not countless, but plenty of times. And he never came across like he did tonight to me. So I don't know if this is the American crowd recognizing him from AEW, or if it's just he's already picking up skills of how to come across bigger, playing to the camera, this sort of things. But whatever it is, I actually feel like I'm more likely to check out Battle of the Super Juniors because Kevin Knight's in it. And that probably means that it's good that he's in that. So I don't know. Does anybody else feel like they're more likely to check out Battle of the Super Juniors if they put one other guy? I saw the field, but it was like one other big hook to me. But I don't know. I kind of feel I'm not going to follow it to a G1 level, but like I will go out of my way to watch the matchups. But I want to. World Class Wrecking Crew retains. I thought this was a good match. Again, I was just tuning in. I was cooking dinner. I don't want to pretend like I paid the world's greatest amount of attention to this. I sat down for the next one, dinner for the next while. But I thought that this was a good showcase. Kevin Knight came across really well. I said in the Discord the other day, and I stand by it, Kushida is just kind of past point of interest for me. He's wrestling like 20 minutes from my house in... I think it's in like a week, actually, if I'm not mistaken, for All-Star Wrestling here. And I was like, I can go see Kushida. I can grab a couple homies, go see Kushida. I was just like, I don't care, man. Even like a small room. Oh yeah, Scoots is shouting out Nick Wayne in BOSJ. That is cool. I'm with you, Scoots. That's a nice touch. Anyway, I thought this tag was good, but it didn't need to be better because this show was a 7 to me. I thought this show was a joy to watch. It flew by. I thought the emotional high that the main presented was as compelling professional wrestling as you're going to get. It's rewards for following this stuff. And beyond that, I thought the wrestling, even in the areas where it wasn't high stakes, in like Zack Sabre Jr. and David Finlay, it was very satisfying in terms of what it gave. And then I thought the crowd was there for it the whole night. I heard some people in the Discord saying that they were sitting by some people who were annoying in the crowd, but let's just go to a wrestling show. You know, it's such an unfortunate reality, isn't it? That I can say that. It's like, well, of course you were. Of course you were sitting by annoying people. You went to wrestling. What does that say about us? Anyway. Thank you all very much for joining me for the Wrestling Brain New Japan Windy City Riot review show. We'll be back Monday for WBCW Meltdown. Slacking. Oh, it's Never Ending Weekend Infinity. Here, do you want some of the Carta Nui? Here you go. You got rewards for staying up late. I got the Nui card right here. We booked it this morning. All right. The top of the Nui card. This is on WBCW this Monday. Our Fantasy Federation, of course, if you're not familiar. You can come and watch, gamble on the matches, help book. Okay. In the main event, it's a King's Crown match. 4v4 elimination. Cash is King. Sam Bancroft, the Fugos, and Thunder God will be taking on 4 guys who want a piece of Sam Bancroft. 4 people Sam Bancroft has beat in the past are teaming up. 2 tag teams are coming on together to take on Cash is King. Old friends, Mickey Williams and Grave Robber, and Ferg Conda Forever, Soji Conda, and Mr. Ferguson will be taking on Cash is King in a 4v4 elimination match as well. Uncle Loudy will be defending his deathmatch title against Enzo Santos. There's some other wicked shit on this card, but I'll leave the rest for a surprise. That's Monday. As well as my Mania preview. My Mania weekend preview comes out on Tuesday on the Patreon. It's not going to be really about WrestleMania. It's going to be more about the Bloodsport and Spring Break cards. All right. Is that it? I think that's it. Yes, Corvax 1266. You said it perfect. Go Ace. Love and energy to everybody at home. Good night. I'll see y'all very soon. Da, na, 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 na.